Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. Today we're going to be filming another spine tingling short. I know last week's was super long. I feel I really wanted to keep them like less than 10 minutes, and then last week's went to like 20 minutes, and I'm just kidding, it was like 15, but I felt it was so long. I'm so sorry. I will try to do today's much shorter, hopefully. But if you guys like these videos, I have been filming them every Friday this month, and I really think I'm gonna keep going with it because I really like it. Like, I really enjoy researching these topics. So if you guys have any place or any person or any spooky thing or something that you would want me to research and talk about, let me know. Leave it down in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and let's get started. So today we are going to be talking about the catacombs in Paris. I've actually always wanted to go there, but obviously, like, I've never even been to Europe. Hopefully someday I do get to go. Alberto's super against going to like haunted places or anything like that because he says that the spirits will cling on to us and follow us home, but he needs to get over it. Okay, so the catacombs in Paris. Basically, they are these underground ossuaries, and ossuaries is just a place, like a containment center or like a container or something where you would put bones or dead bodies. In this case, they are underground tunnels. So these tunnels were first actually quarries that they used to use, and eventually they ended up housing more than 6 million bodies in them. Like, that's scary. At first, they would just start throwing the bodies down there because they had nowhere else to put them. The cemeteries, they had gotten super full of bodies. They were overflowing. So the city ended up closing down the cemeteries. So then people just started disposing of bodies in the streets, like just randomly anywhere. And that was contributing to the super horrible sanitary problems that they were having and all these health issues and disease and everything. So what they decided to do was to start throwing them down to these quarries. And at first they would just dump all the bodies down there, so the bones were just scattered all over the place. And eventually this guy named, please excuse me if I butcher his name, it was Ricard de Thury. He suggested that they kind of like organize the bones. So what they ended up doing is they organized them, but kind of like a facade, just like in the front where the people would see. They ended up organizing the bones there, but everything behind it, it was just full of bones all the way to the back of the walls. Like that's pretty scary. Like, all these dead bodies, like, oh, we have nowhere to put them, let's just start throwing them underground. Like, who cares? So yeah, and of course, all these dead bodies in one place, there has to be some hauntings, some spooky stories, some legends. So I did end up finding a few that I want to talk about. And the first one, I'm gonna leave the scariest one to last, but the first one is the legend of the found camera. So this one actually happened in the early 1990s, so I was already born. And basically, these cataphiles, which are people that go down into the catacombs regularly and they explore it, they investigate, they like going down there. They were walking around down there, and they eventually, or suddenly, they bumped into a camera. Like, they found a camera on the floor, they picked it up, they were looking through it, and the very last thing was actually a video. So when they were playing the video, they could hear noises. It was super dark. Those catacombs are pitch black, they're underground, there's no light. So they could hear noises, they could hear these creepy sounds, and eventually they started realizing that the man that was recording, the man that was holding the camera, was like lost. Like, by what they were hearing, by what they were seeing, they could tell that the guy was lost. And so they're looking through it and they're getting really spooked by this. And eventually the camera, it just like falls. Like, I guess the guy recording drops it. So, and that's where it ends, with the camera just falling. Nobody knows what happened to that guy. Like, they don't know if he came out of the catacombs alive. They don't know if he stayed lost down there and he just became a part of all the bones that were already down there. but they do say that that found footage inspired the creators of the movie As Above, Down Below. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's about the Paris catacombs, but that's pretty creepy. Like, what happened to him? Why did he drop it? Did something attack him? Did he faint? Like, what happened to him? Why did he drop that camera and not pick it back up and continue recording? So, I don't know. Next legend that I found is the voices at midnight. That's what they call it. So a lot of the explorers say that you can hear creepy voices and sounds when you are in the catacombs past midnight. They say that the walls will begin talking to you, like all the skulls. All the skulls in the catacombs, they'll start talking to you. They'll start calling out your name, start calling out to you to like come into the catacombs, and you'll hear these disembodied voices calling you, and they keep taking you further and further into the catacombs until eventually you're completely lost and you can't find a way out. So you just stay there with them. You end up staying down there with the voices. Yeah. Imagine. First of all, why would you even follow voices that are calling you? Who would do that? I don't know. The next legend that I found was the legend of the ghost of Philibert Aspart. Philibert was actually a doorman for a hospital in Paris. It was called the Val de Grace Hospital, or Val de Grace. It looks like Val de Grace. So he was a doorman for that hospital during the French Revolution, and he ended up going down to the cellar in search for a bottle of liquor, but for some reason he ended up in the catacombs. So I don't know if this hospital had like a passageway that would lead to the catacombs, especially since it's a hospital. Like, it would be easier for them to just take the bodies into the catacombs. That's what I think might have happened. But point is, he went down to look for liquor, and he ended up in the catacombs and he got lost. It's completely dark down there, like I had told you all before. So he became extremely confused super quickly, and he ended up getting lost. Many people believe that he was actually intoxicated, so that made it worse for him. He only had a candle with him, but eventually that candle turned off. So he had nothing, he had no light, he had no food, he had nothing with him. His body didn't end up being found until 11 years later by some cataphiles. And they were only able to identify him by his hospital keyring that was still stuck on his belt. And what they ended up doing is they buried him exactly in the same spot that he was found in. And they just placed a plaque there that says his story of what happened to him and how he was found. And basically that you're standing next to where a guy died or a guy's body was found. Like, that's really morbid, I feel. And they say that every November 3rd, his ghost is seen, or you can hear it walking around the catacombs. Like, he's still lost and he's trying to find his way out, and it happens every November 3rd. That's what they say. I don't know. The last legend that I found, this one, I feel that this is the creepiest one. So one day in the 2000s, I think it was in 2004, a group of police officers went down there just to search, right? They do their normal searches to look around the restricted areas, make sure nobody's down there. So they ended up going down there and they found this like secret hideaway. It was full of like super weird things that, why would they be in catacombs? So first, they found a PA system, and this PA system had pre-recorded dogs barking. So the PA system had dog barks. Like, what? They found 3,000 square feet of galleries wired for phones. So I'm not sure what galleries are. I didn't really research them, but I'm imagining it's kind of like the phone booths. So they found 3,000 square feet full of that, with wires for phones with pirated electricity. So somebody was using phones down there. They also found a bar a living area, a workshop. They found a movie theater, like a cinema that would seat 20 people, and the seats were actually carved into the catacombs. I guess with pieces of like the ground, maybe there was like rocks or something, but the seats were carved into the catacombs. The creepiest thing though was that the police officers saw like cameras in the ceilings recording. You know how like when a camera's recording, it's blinking red? So there were cameras up on the ceilings, and it was basically recording them being down there. So the officers ended up leaving, and they came back a few days later with a whole investigation crew to try to figure out like what was going on down there. But when they got there, everything was gone, like everything. The only thing they found was a note, like in the middle of like the opening. There was a note that said, "Don't search," in French. Like they just, everything was gone, and they found a note that said, "Don't search." What could that be though? Like, what do y'all think that could be? The first thing that I honestly thought of was like sex trafficking. I know that went from like 0 to 100 real quick, but I was like, why would they have like this whole underground like living space? That's the first thing I thought of. Or it could have also been like people that love the morbid and gross, I don't know. But those are just a few of the legends that I found. And if you ever decide to go visit the catacombs, just make sure you follow the rules. 1, respect these people's final resting place. 2, don't leave your mark. 3, you can look but do not touch. And 4, don't follow the voices and don't get lost.